My artist is Grace Coddington, who works in the fashion industry. I don't think any of you guys know her, but okay. First, before I talk about her, I actually want to try to make a point first, which is that you show individuality through fashion, which I don't think is a new concept to any of us. This is Leanne G, who's a fashion lover. This is Susie Bubble, another fashion lover. I don't know. And she's pretty cool. Tabby Gevinson, she actually started fashion mark when she was 12, so this is when she was 12. And I think this just really shows how fashion isn't just the silly thing, but actually really can be something that expresses you. And this is her a little more recently. So Grace Coddington. Grace Coddington is a former model and now works as the creative director of American Vogue. And she changed the way that clothes are seen in fashion photography and in ads. So what is a creative director? Well, the creative director of Vogue is in charge of all the editorials, so like all the photo shoots you see in the magazines. I thought I would start with showing you some of her work, since I don't think any of you guys are familiar with her. So this was shot for the September 2013 issue and photographed by Eddie Campbell. And I think this really shows how she used background, and she used things like values and contrast, like a visual artist does, to get a point across. And I think it also shows how the fashion, like the clothes, become more than just on a person. They become part of the picture. This is another one, which I think this was shot in September 2012. Photographed by Emily Leibovitz, and I think this one really shows the story element and how she used, like the clothes blend in and they become part of the story to show a bigger picture. About her. Grace Coddington was born in 1941 on a tiny Welsh island called Anglesey, and it was very like secluded, and she actually lived on in the hotel that her family owned, and her mom had a very traditional concept of what women should do. Like she was rather secluded and didn't really have a lot of freedom or new ideas. And one of the only things as a child or teenager that she grew up with that showed her different worlds was the fashion industry, because she would read all the Vogue magazines. But by the time she got them, they were actually already late. But she was still loved looking at the pictures. And she started modeling at 18 because of that, because she wanted to be part of that world that made her dream. And she actually became one of the most well-known models in the 60s under her nickname, The Cod. In 1961, she started working as an editor at Vogue, at the British Vogue, and she started creating the narrative images in fashion, but her work didn't really start. She didn't really become that big until she became the creative director at American Vogue in 1988. This is one of my favorite editorials that she did. It's called Eternal Optimism. It was shot for the March 2012 issue. And I think, photographed by Craig Dean. And I think this really shows how she, as a creative director, she used these concepts and really followed through with them. This was obviously inspired by modernism, and the backgrounds are actually like painted canvas. So yeah, and I think it also really shows how she made these photos into art. Another one, this is called The Great Pretender. It is from the May 2009 issue, photographed by Stephen Meisel, and it shows the styles of the 60s when she was a model. And I also think it shows how fashion can be used to express something that isn't really normal and sort of odd, and show something different than your normal self. In contrast, sorry. She was influential because she made fashion and editorials become an art form. She did that through showing movement in her pictures, as well as creating visual interest through things like principles of design, which visual artists use, and also by telling a story. In contrast, this is what it looked like before she started working. So this is an Eve St. Laurent ad in 1973. And it's not very visually interesting. It's more like just a human mannequin, really. And even though she already worked at this point, she really wasn't, like she didn't actually do her own stuff yet. In contrast, her work, this is called Modern Times. It was shot for the May 2012 issue, photographed by Craig McDean. And I think this really showed what she does as a creative director, which is she creates concepts and then she follows through with them. And like everything from creating the idea that, oh, I want to do something related to modernism, and then getting the right photographer and getting the back, like all the sets and getting the clothes. But also, she said that she casts models like she would, like a director casts characters for a movie, like cast actors for a movie, because she sees them as a character, which I think really helps pictures. And also how she does post-production. Another one. It really made fashion photography too hard. Another old ad. This is Christian Dior ad from 1971. And while it does show movement, it's not very visually exciting. And this is from 1979. Another Christian Dior ad. And I think this is a really good example because it looks very forced and very awkward. And they're just posing weird, and they're trying to create movement and trying to create something exciting for the viewer to get them to buy their products, but it just ends up looking really forced. This is one of her work, Magnificent Obsession, which I think shows a lot of story and shows how clothes can really be used to create that, but also how she did a lot of social commentary, just like other artists do in their work, she did in hers. Oh, that was the July 2010 issue of Vogue and photographed by Peter Lindbergh. This is what an editorial would look like before she started working. So it was like an average editorial back then. This is from 1968. And even though the designer really has a lot of creativity in his clothes and really tries to portray something, the picture really doesn't, because it is so still and it just looks like a doll being dressed up. Yeah, she was influential, and one of those you can see it is in how editorials look now, not even in her work, but also other magazines. So this is Harper's Bazaar, which is a women's fashion magazine, and this is for November 2013. And it's photographed by Daniel Goldberg and styled by Alistair Kim. And I think this really shows how she was influential because it shows the use of concept and the use of movement and other visual interesting designs, and also how they're angled and the lighting, everything like that really she started using. And it also shows how it became photography, like real photography and real art, because these are pictures you could see in a gallery for photography, not just for fashion. Another way she was influential is a lot of designers loved her, and this is why, because she did really, she prolonged, because the designers were so creative and they had all these ideas and they really tried to tell something, and she continued doing that when she showed their clothes and really started showing them as a storytelling tool. And how she would do that is actually she would watch all the fashion shows and she would just sketch all these outfits that she saw that she thought were interesting, so some of just her drawing. And that's why in 2012, Balenciaga, which is a high fashion house, actually did a collaboration with her, and they created that bag because they wanted to honor her because she did so much. Okay. I think this photo just really sums it up nicely. It says, every billboard, fashion magazine spread, every advertisement we see today has been influenced by Grace Coddington. And I think this is very true because without her, it really would just be kind of boring. This was said by R.J. Cutler, who actually did a documentary on Vogue but especially really focusing on her. And he actually got to spend months and months filming them and observing how other people took reactions to her work. So, my emulation. So I did a watercolor drawing and pen and ink, and I did the pen and ink because she really used a lot of pen and ink, and I tried to emulate her by showing things like all the backstory and sort of making her a little, making her like move. Make sense? And then also I made the figure gray because I wanted to show that it's not necessarily about the person, and the story can also be told by the surroundings. So yeah. And like to just conclude it, I think she really helped push for making fashion be seen as individuality by these people that create fashion, and I think she really helped that, to make fashion into something that is creative. So like a lot of designers started really getting very creative and actually making clothes that aren't just the usual and not just the norm.
Minutes of your time left if you want to take questions. Sure. Does anyone have any questions for Clara about Grace Coddington or about her emulation? Oh, yes.
Where did you first hear of Grace Coddington?
I actually heard of her through the movie, the documentary, which is called The September Issue, and it just shows all the creative, like all the work that goes into it. And I think I was really amazed by what she does and how she really creates something out of nothing. And also I thought for my American artist, I wanted to do someone that wasn't really well known, because I thought that was kind of important too, and I don't know.